Department, University of, in the Sanskrit Department, University of Madras, in which department he served for number of years under Dr. Raghavan initially, and then subsequently under other professors. He was a walking encyclopedia. He used to give references for any queries that one may ask him with regard to agamas or architecture or dramaturgy, Alankara Sastra, Sahitya, Buddhism, Jainism, music especially, so many things. And he was also a very simple person who used to come to our institute daily. He was also the president of Samskrita Ranga, and he has taken part in Sanskrit dramas. And the Samskrita Ranga troupe used to visit many places in India, staging Sanskrit dramas under the direction of Professor Raghavan. And then it was Dr. Janaki, and Professor Sundaram also did a lot of work in editing the text as well as in direction. And Professor Sundaram, as we all know, was always very much interested in sharing his knowledge. And he was truly a multifaceted personality. And it was very unfortunate moment that he passed away all of a sudden after coming to our institute, and then he went home and he collapsed. So in his memory, Mrs. Saraswati Sundaram, Professor Sundaram's family members, they instituted an endowment, and we have been conducting a talk every year in memory of Professor Sundaram. And the request was, since Professor Sundaram birthday came in the last week of September, we were asked to conduct the endowment lecture in the last week of September. So here we are this year, 24th September, we are having this endowment lecture. And today we have a very eminent person, Shri K.P. Umapathy Acharya. K.P. Umapathy Acharya, I would call him Professor Umapathy Acharya, hails from a very distinguished traditional, that is Sampradayic family, Vishwakarma family. He is the director of the Institute of Sacred Architecture in Kumbakonam. He has been training hundreds of youth in the field of construction of temples, that is temple architecture, iconography, and has been teaching many texts, including some Vedic texts, texts on Shilpa Sastra, Vastu Sastra, to many persons, hundreds of persons in India and also abroad. He has presented a lot of papers in national and international seminars. In fact, he is held in high esteem by many scholars in the field of archaeology, architecture, and traditional temple architecture. Professor Umapathy comes from a very traditional Vishwakarma family background. His grandfather was Ayapuri Acharya, about whom he was just sharing an information. And his father was Panchapagesha Acharya. And Umapathy learnt the intricacies of temple architecture and also theory of Shilpa Sastra and Vastu Sastra and allied texts from his father. He is an expert both in theory and practice of Vastu and Shilpa Sastra, and he has also published quite a number of books, notable among them being Shilpa Vidya Rahasyopanishad as well as Ratha Lakshanam. I think he shared with us the text Ratha Lakshanam, which he edited a few years ago. And I think he'll be coming out with some more publications, including Kashyapa Samhita. And he used to, like Professor Sundaram, he is an encyclopedia in the field of architecture. You ask any references from any text, Kashyapa, Shilparatna, Aparajita Prucha, or any text for that matter, Umapathy Acharya is ready to share his knowledge. And he has been involved very seriously in restoring ancient temples as well as construction of new temples and making many new statues, not only in stone, but also in metals, wood, everything. He's truly an ambassador of Indian culture, and he has been honored with many titles and awards, notable among them being in 2004, he got the Best Artist Award from the government of Tamil Nadu. And in 2008, he was awarded a prestigious title which he received from Shanta Prasad Award from the Craft Council of India. That is a very prestigious award. And in 2013, another prestigious award was given to him, Abhinava Sarvasiddhi Acharya in Badami, the capital of Chalukyan Kingdom. So we can know that his fame, his reputation, his skill has been recognized all over India. And Umapathy is teaching Vedic text and Shilpa text pertaining to Shilpa Sastra, Vastu Sastra, etc. And also sharing his practical knowledge on temple architecture as well as iconography to many students. He and his brother are tirelessly working to revive the Vishwakarma traditional knowledge of ancient temple architecture and iconography. We are indeed thankful to Professor Umapathy Acharya. In fact, he had worked closely with Dr. P.P. Apte of Pune in editing some of the agamic text and Shilpa Sastra text also. So with this background, Umapathy is much sought after person, and we are indeed thankful to you, sir. Earlier also he has come and talked in our research institute, also in our seminars on art and architecture. Again, I think we will be calling Umapathy Acharya for some other seminar on art and architecture, because it is important to record the knowledge that he contains. And today we are eagerly awaiting to listen to Shri Umapathy Acharya. He will be sharing to us some of the intricate aspects of temple architecture. And with these words, I welcome all of you. Once again, I welcome Shri Umapathy Acharya and request him to share his thoughts on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om. Sinduram Panjapatram Dasabhujavayam Pustakam Likita Gatkam Gadvangam Bijapuram Amrita Kalasam Kandiham Atamalam Trisula Jnanamudram Asarasura Guruhum Vishakarmam Namami Palland Vallayiratand Palahodi Nurayiram Mallanda Dindol Manivanna Un Sevadi Savi Tirukap Adiyamodum Ninodum Pirivindri Ayiram Palland Vadivayin Valamarvanil Valhinda Mangayum Palland Vadivar Sodi Valaturayum Sudaradium Palland Padayur Muradanga Panchasanyamum Pallande Sarvebhyaha Namaskaraha. I extend my humble namaste to Director of Dr. Kameshwari ji and my friend Dr. Kannan, Sanskrit Kannan, and other professors of KSR and friends and participants. I extend my gratitude to Sanskrit Kannan and Dr. Kameshwari for inviting me to share my knowledge and to interact with the participants. The temple architecture or the iconography or painting or the Alankara Sastra, whatever in the Indian thought process regarding the aesthetics is synonymous with that of Mahalakshmi. So we are praying the God for aesthetics, beauty, wealth, and everything, whatever auspicious in this universe. May humble pranam and namaste to Sri Mahalakshmi. Homage to saints, kings, and queens. We are always visiting temples and wondering about its sculpture and architectural marvels, undertaking pradakshina and approaching the God Sannidhi. The temple is a highly spiritualized place. So our thousands and thousands of temples in our Bharatavarsha, not the present political boundary, but the cultural boundary of our Bharatavarsha, in which so many saints, kings, and queens were responsible for the construction of the temples. So my humble pranams to, I join with the participant to pay our respects and homage to saints, kings, and queens. My humble pranams to the great divine architect of the Tanjore Bragadishwara temple, Brahma Sri Kunjaramalla Rajaraja Perundachan, Brahma Sri Nittavinoda Perundachan, Brahma Sri Kandaraditya Perundachan. Homage to the chief architect of the Pattadakal Virupaksha temple of a Chalukyan empire, Brahma Sri Sarasvati Acharya and Brahma Sri Gunda, also called as Tiruchadursi Acharya. I pay my respects and homage to the chief architect of the Somanathpur, Brahma Sri Mallitama Acharya. The picture slide shows the many temples of Chola Empire. Kodumbalur, Vijayalaya Solishwaram, Dharasuram, Madattu Koyil. We do not know who was conceived the idea and construct the temple and executed it in a proper manner. So our homage to anonymous saint architects. We are under attack for so many years, for more than 700 years by the invaders. After European and Portuguese colonized our country, the impact of it, many of our great temples were destroyed, as well as our texts also destroyed. There is no R&D, research and development for hundreds of years together. But the British people, very clever, and they put impress the stamp that India has no knowledge system. Everything emerged in our country, knowledge system, was considered as below the level of European. The same was applied to the architecture and sculpture also. They try to put the impression that our art tradition, it is not up to the level of European, as well as it is barbaric. There is no fine art in our country. At the time, three great giants come out and defended the attack by British people, as well as they opened the eyes of Europeans and the rest of the world. The three great people are Yogi Sri Aurobindo. We are well aware of the writings of Yogi, especially his foundation for Indian civilization. It is giving the befitting reply to each and every scholar in a proper and most vibrant and dynamic way. The another great personality is Sri Ananda Kandis Kumara Swami. He was considered as a great giant. He had written more than 4,000 articles about Indian art and architecture, sculpture, painting, as well as about the Vedas, Bharatanatyam, music, in almost all the subjects of Indology. And his articles expose the greatness of our art and architecture. The another great personality is Sir Ernest Brinfield Havel. Normally we call E.B. Havel, the former principal of Madras School of Fine Arts. He is a great historian and artist. He had written so many articles about our Indian art and architecture, textile, and exposed the intricacy of architecture and technology. So these three great people were helped us lot and lot than that of any Indian after 1947. I inspired the art and architecture, especially of Sastra, by my grandfather, Shilpa Samrat, Brahmashri K. Umapathy Acharya. My respects to him. There is a introduction is needed for architecture, about our civilization. The architecture is a product Our civilization is a cause and effect. The Indian civilization is not only a great cultural system, but also an immense religious effort of the human spirit. A spiritual aspiration was a governing force of this culture. It's a core of thought and it's a ruling passion. So spirituality is the central point. It is the center. All our thought process, all our daily, day-to-day life is around the center that is the spiritual aspiration. Many Indologists acknowledged that every person in our country well aware of the spiritual vitality and the spirituality and its principles and philosophies. So spiritual aspiration was a governing force of this culture. It's a core of thought and it's a ruling passion. What Carl Jung says that is a collective unconsciousness. The rest of the countries, the materialistic, as a governing force for its civilization and the culture. But our country has a deep rooted in our mind, in our consciousness, in our supra-conscious level. So spiritual aspiration was a governing force of this culture. Shilpavidya Rahasya Upanishad, a revered text of Vishwakarma's, says that spirituality is the secret of art. Shilpam becomes sacrifice. Philosophical propositions become architecture. It is mentioned in the Shilpavidya Rahasya Upanishad. It teaches each and every aspect, the philosophical aspect of the temple architecture. In general, it is called as Shilpa. Shilpam becomes sacrifice, yajnam. The sacrifice in the Western concept. According to West, it is a suffering. But the Indian system says that yajnam is a joyful one. We are offering everything to our God. The gods are sitting in front of us. So Shilpa considered as a yajna. The philosophical propositions become architecture. Our architecture is not for the materialistic eye. It's more than that. The philosophy is converted into the architecture. The philosophical ideas is converted into the designs, the floral patterns, symbols, everything. So it is mentioned. The impulsion towards architecture. Each and every civilization has its own idea. The Greek architecture was a refined perfection. It is a 600 to 800 CE. The Roman architecture, known for its remarkable scientific construction. The Gothic, condition of passionate energy. The European Renaissance is a scholarship of its time. But the Indian architecture is outstanding quality of its spiritual content. According to E.B. Howell, Indian art is essentially idealistic, mystic, symbolic, and transcendental. The artist is both as a priest and poet. The art of India is a great synthesis embracing various theological concepts, elements, but inspired by the common idea or idea. Yogi Sri Aurobindo says, the most ancient sculptural art of India embodies in visible form what the Upanishads throw out. Inspired thought and Ramayana and Mahabharata portrayed by the world in life. The ancient sculptor or architect is concerned with embodying the spiritual experiences and impressions, not with recording or glorifying what is received by the physical things, especially of the physical, karmendriya and jnanendriyas. The history of art, when it is an art of means and not inspiration, prophecy or the revelation is a trivial. What is happening today? The art historian says about the history of the art. The history of the art, not by the philosophical content, not by the technical content, not by the intricacy of its symbolism, but they are says how they made it, what is the means of it. So history of art, when it is an art of means and not inspiration, prophecy or the revelation, it is the smallest and very trivial. Art does not lie in its mean, it lies in its mission, its purpose, in its message, in its prophecy. For just how to do it, how to do the work. So many videos available nowadays. So it is nothing. In each and every part of the world, every civilization adopted some ways to convey their ideas in literature, in architecture, in iconography. So what is the means? It is not at all same thing. Tradition also, how they are doing it, it is not at all the tradition. It is a way of doing it. But we have to concentrate upon the what is its mission. What is the purpose of the art and architecture? What the message it is giving? It is really the prophecy. Art consciousness is an individual possession of universality. It is a harmony with an understanding of the spiritual significance of form, of the visible godly fabric. The art consciousness is an individual possession of universality. It is a pure, if the Advaita is just looking this point, they say that it is a pure form of Advaita. Each and every soul to identify itself according to Upanishad views. So making of temple, constructing temple is not an easy joke. It has the lot and lot of philosophical ideas. Lot and lot of tapas is necessary. The Veda and Silpa Sastras, what is the hereditary observation? I do not know what the other families were done, whether they are continuing the same traditional or not, I do not know exactly. But my family always insisted, my father, my grandfather, my family insists that the Vedas and the Silpa Sastras must be live within me as a part of my mental organization, accompanying and conditioning every idea and every details in my perception and representation. So the Veda is the core aspect Veda is very basic. From the Veda I am obtaining what the Veda Mata and Veda Purusha are revealing to me. That portion alone, it may be coming out as architecture. So my family always insisting, my father always insisting, certain suktas must be recited every day. The Vishwakarma Sukta of 10th Mandala, Manyu Sukta, Apri Suktas. Because Apri Suktas are always mentioning about the Kashta, Vastospadi. These are all the important suktas, essential for the each and every family of Vishwakarmas for the construction of the temple. We receive the intuition from the Vedas and Vedas only, from the Vedas only. So what is the purpose of training? There are a lot of Shilpa Sastras. You are all well aware of it. Kashyapa Shilpa Sastra, Samarangana Sutradhara, Aparajita Pricha, Jaya Pricha, Shilparatana Gosha, Saraswati Chitrakarma Sastra, Vishwakarma Vasa, all. What is the purpose of it? People say that these are all guidebook. Some scholars say that it is a repetition of one text to the another. They are all one and the same. Some people even declare that it is one and the same. No, not at all. Each and every Shilpa text having its own quality. Each and every Shilpa text is a differ, even though they are mentioning a word, one word, but in different context. The purpose of training the Shilpa Sastra implies the student, mostly the son, to recognize and experience a rare kind of aesthetic spiritual experience, to adapt and make the work progress. Here, the mere aesthetic sense is not enough. People may say he is doing the work very beautifully. No, not at all. It is not necessary for us. It must be aesthetic as well as the spiritual experience. So the Shilpa Sastra giving us lot of scope to understand. From our understanding, it leads to the having the ability to get the capacity, the revelation. So the aesthetic and spiritual experience to adapt and make the work of progress. The mantra can not only create a new subjective state in ourselves and transmitting to physical existence. So the mantras we know, especially all are the Sanskrit scholars, we are well aware of that. What is the mantra and what is power of it? So mantra, the alphabet, the combination of one or more alphabets, they are having the mystic quality. They have to create the new subjective state. So that is why the Shilpa text verses never be called as the verses, but we call it as a dhyana sloka. Because the verses are given not the description or the prescription to construct the temple or form an icon or a painting. But it is very clearly mentioned that it is only for the dhyana. From the dhyana only, they have the new subjective ideas, and then he is capable of transporting into the material form. Here we are seeing on the slide under this background, these are all the preliminary introduction. What is the spirituality and how we are receiving the new ideas, how the old ideas were renewed. So all these are all the introduction. Now we are seeing the Tiruchadursi Subramanya Swami temple. Our ancestors well aware of the soil technology. On the seashore, Tiruchadursi Murugan temple is there. Subramanya Swami temple on the seashore. What it implies the technology to construct the temple on seashore. It is already mentioned in the Sangam literature, Tirumurugatrupadai. So about 3,000 years, even we are conveniently taking as a 2,000 years or 2,500 years. The temple is still existing. And bottom, left side, bottom is a very good tower, temple tower. Right side is Subramanya Swami with his consorts. And bottom, the Kandashashi Utsava, the seashore. Lakhs of people visiting each and every year. So what it implies that we have a very long tradition of more than 2,000 years. The literature is there. The temple is still standing. It is still visited by thousands of people every day. And great functions with lakhs of people assembly. So in this point, I would like to say that the soil technology was well analyzed by our ancestors. That is why the seashore is standing. Seashore, there is a rough weather. Similarly, on the top of the hill in Madhya Pradesh. On top of the hill, this temple was constructed about 1,000 years back. Constructing a temple in the seashore and the top of the hill is entirely different. Because the weather is changing for every hour, for every minute it has to be changed because the wind is very powerful. Our ancestors were well aware of the wind power and how the temple to be stand. So the technology is very highly sophisticated. Here is a Narthamalai in Pudukkottai district, Tamil Nadu. Vijayalaya Solishwaram. It is exactly 1,000 years old. Still standing very majestically on the top of the hill. Our ancestors were well aware of all these, the wind power. How the each and every block of granite interlocked with the surrounding one and majestically standing. So two techniques. It is on, again, there is another hilltop temple at Badami. Here the cave, Badami cave. Seashore, hilltop, now artificial cave. The artificial cave one, about 40 feet in wide. Very big. Very excellent carvings were done. Very great iconography displayed. So our ancestors well aware of how to make the artificial cave temples in a very perfect way. This is Ajanta cave number 26. Here, even Badami it is soft stone. In Ajanta it is a hard stone. So here also, they meticulously calculated each and every pillar, size of the pillar and capital and above the roof. The roofs are decorated like that of the wooden roof. So such a kind of greatness, because the sophisticated tools were engaged. Not ordinary tools, ordinary chisel and hammer may not work. It needs a high-grade steel and a hammer. As well as they have the very good planning to evacuate the chiseled pieces, granite pieces out. So artificial caves also our ancestors did. Again, it is a Tanjore Brihadishwara temple. Around the big temple, there is no quarry. So almost all the construction in the temple complex in granite only. No other material used. That's why. How they are bring all these granite blocks. They taken from 80 kilometers away from Tanjavur, that is in Karur and Narthamalai area, about the granite blocks. It is also a great challenge for the material management as well as the free fabrication system were adopted by our ancestors. It is another marvel in Tadipatri in Andhra Pradesh. Very big temple tower entrance, that is a Gopuram, on the bank of Pennar. Seashore, okay. Hilltop already been done. On planned land, there is no quarry, also our ancestors done. Here, on the bank of the river. Usually, the bank of the river, the loose soil, how they prevented the loose soil, how they evacuated the loose soil. So it is really a mystic one. So each and every block of granite was carved with intricate designs. Again, on the bank of river, the great Botanical temple, not only one temple, there are more than 12 temples in Botanical in one complex. In which this temple is very famous. It is called as a Virupaksha temple. It is on the bank of the river Malaprabha. Because water is coming very forcefully to the Malaprabha from the hilltops. Very forceful during the rainy days. So they have done the very excellent temples. Not one temple, there are more than 12 temples. The reason for it, the people or historians says that they are experimented with it. No, not at all. There is no experiment. In our system, Indian system, nothing is experimented. There is no trial and error method in our system. We are again and again soaked in our philosophy, Nyaya Sastra. So, in the Silpa text, it is again and again mentioned that a strong mind is necessary for the architect. There is no scope for trial and error and no experimentation. No experiments in it in Botanical. Each and every temple has a very unique style. On the bank of the river, forceful river Malaprabha. Here the Ellora. Ellora is really a wonder. It is a vertically they are cut. A mountain, very hard stone. The artificial cave we can understand. Compared with that of the Ellora, it is unimaginable. The great Ellora, it is really a marvel to our human civilization. So, we simply know that spirituality is essential. Vedas are the very basic to the temple architecture. And our ancestors have the wide knowledge in constructing in a different place. If so, is there any theoretical area for it? It is called a Shilpa text. These are all the Shilpa Sastra. This is one of the Shilpa Sastra in family manuscript. This is also a manuscript regarding the Shilpa text, in which illustrations are also mentioned along with that of the text in Sanskrit language. The left side, in the bottom, the illustrations mentioned in the palm leaf manuscript. On the top, it was actually carved one in the temple in Bhubaneswar. The right side, it is a Lingaraja temple in Bhubaneswar. The same slide in the left side, there is an illustration in the palm leaf manuscript. So our Shilpa Sastras, not only written verses, it has recorded the transcribe, the illustration also how to conduct, how to construct the temple. The left side also ground plan, palm leaf manuscript. In the right side, Sapati, the photograph taken in 1907 by Ananda Kandi's Kumara Swami. So one is he is within the temple premises, he draw a temple plan, 1:1 plan. So our Shilpa Sastras giving intricate points. They are dhyana slokas. Who are the authors of the Shilpa text? Saints. There are Vishwakarma, Viswasara, Vrita, Manu, Manavit, Manasara, Prashta, Viswabhota, Tvashta, Naya. All these are, there are 34 authors mentioned in the Manasara text, regard authors of the Shilpa Sastras. Adisara, Vishwakashipa, these are all the North Indian based. Vastu Sastras mentioned few more names also. There was one text, especially in the Western India, that is Vishwakarma Darshana. The text consists of more than 1,000 chapters regarding the different branches of the temple architecture, town planning, military engineering, etc. Now it is completely not in our hands. At least we have 30. It is a highest number is 30. Not more than 30 Shilpa Sastras in a printed format. So Shilpa Sastras are there, and what is the qualification of a Sthapati? The Sthapati is not a professional name, but it is a caste surname of Vishwakarmas. What are the qualifications for a Sthapati? The basic qualification of a Sthapati, it is hails from the Vishwakarma community, born from a noble family, excellence in Vedas, excellence in Shilpa Sastras, well-versed in Puranas, expert in the following subject. These are all the basic qualifications. What are the subjects necessary for a Sthapati? Astronomy, astrology, philosophy of different religions, etymology, phonetics, prosody, music, surveying, civil engineering, IT engineering, military engineering, geography of different countries, geology, economics, material management, quality management, knowledge management, history of different countries, epigraphy, calligraphy, knowledge of animal instinct and language, painting, sculpture, and process fluency. These are the subject areas in which a Sthavati must be qualified. Just you have to connect yourself with any of the temple, old temple, and just imagine whether these subjects are applied in that temple. For example, geology. Without the geology, we are unable to construct a temple. The seashore at Mahabalipuram or Tiruchadursi. Epigraphy, we are well aware that lot of inscription in all over India. Knowledge of animal instinct, the Belur and all the Hoysala Empire temples as a testimony. There are thousands of elephants are there in Belur and Halibedu. In our Tamil Nadu also we have the lot of elephants sculpture. So each and every elephant is a differ with the other. In Belur also they say 300, more than 300 elephant sculptures are there. No, 300 varieties of elephants. The elephants have the different mood. Before eating, after eating, it is very tasty sugar cane. So the mood is changing. The instinct is a change for the animals. That is why a Sthavati must have the knowledge of the animal instinct. Then only it is possible for him to carve, as well as he has to train to take the granites, heavy granites or the wood, etc. So these are all the qualifications for a Sthavati. These are the subject. What is the personal qualification? Compassionate, self-control, always speaking truth, charitable in giving food, firm in decision making, faithful to his friends, soft-spoken, sweet-tongued, always happy in mind, should not be greedy, should be free from gambling, hunting, daydreaming, blackmailing, addiction to liquor and woman, should always curious to learn sciences, should have inclination to learn from the others. These are all the personal qualifications for a Sthavati. So if a person having all these qualities, then only he can be able to construct a temple. Otherwise, it is not a temple, it is a temple-like structure. Sometimes people are asking me, you are so imaginative and you are writing so many things as a qualification for a Sthavati. No, there are a lot of inscriptions are available to prove it. Now, Botanical, Virupaksha temple, in the very first entrance, there are two inscriptions are there, left side and right side. There is the two inscription not mentioning about the kings or the queens who are responsible for the construction of the temple. Instead, they are talking about this is Sarasvati Acharya and Tiruchadursi Acharya. The left side, the southern side, inscription says the qualities of the Sarasvati Acharya. The right side about the Tiruchadursi Acharya. The inscription says that Sarasvati Acharya, the chief architect of Virupaksha temple at Botanical, hails Shri Sarasvati Acharya, the aslim of all virtuous qualities, the Pitamaha, the creator, the maker of many cities and houses, whose conversation is entirely perfect and refined. He is hailed as a jeweled crown and crushed jewel in the field of construction, palaces, temples, vehicles, seats, and coaches, the most eminent Sudragrahi of the southern country. This is about the left side of the entrance. The old Canaries inscription number 200. This is Kadambar Malai inscription. The Kadambar Malai is under the Nartha Malai, Vijayalaya Solishwara temple. In the bottom of the hill, the Kadambar Malai is there. The temple is a very perfect in execution, small temple, but very excellently executed. And it is very perfect in every aspect. There is one inscription is that the inscription says that the Kadambar Malai, the chief architect, Kumara Acharya, and his father, both were repaired many temples and constructed this temple also, for which the Rajendra Chola had given some endowments. After that, he says that Acharya Dakshana. Please note that Acharya Dakshana and the gift, that is both are very different. The Acharya Dakshana having very highest social honor to the architect. The another inscription is from Hoysala dynasty. A Brahma sculpture below the feet of Lord Brahma. A inscription in Kannada talking about the architect. The architect is Chavundoja. The Chavundoja, a son to all women, a disciple of the learned of the Sarvasiddhi Gana, worshipper of the Shivadi Deva of pure lineage, the son of Gulgoja, who was architect of the Trilokya Mata temple at Kurvati, made the image of Brahma. It is under the Brahma image. What is the speciality of it? The Chavundoja, a son to all women, is a very interesting one. We do not know the age of Chavundoja. If we take 40 years old, a son to all women, women of 25 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, all the women consider Chavundoja as their own son. So it is one of the classical example of how the temple builders, the Sthapati Vishwakarmas, having the highest social honor as well as the personal attitude. So this is a very interesting inscription. There is another inscription in the Holal. The inscription says that the inscription about architect Bammoja, student of Padoja, who was verily the Kaliyuga Vishwakarma, a master of 64 arts and crafts, an expert on building the 64 varieties of prasadas, sacred building, and one who could build 4 classes of temples, Nagara, Dravida, Kalinga, and Vesara. So an architect Bammoja having the capability to do the all kinds 64 varieties of prasadas. We are all aware that prasada means also a temple. Prasada, Harmiya, Vimana, these are all indicating the temple. So, the Sthapati must have the knowledge of all kind of temples, all varieties of the temples. So, it is very clearly established in this inscription. Regarding the Vedas, the connectivity of the Vedas, Ananda Kumara Swami says in the theory of architecture, we find Manasara in the first place, a clear evidence of a direct dependence upon the Vedic sources. For example, in the statement that the master architect and also his 3 companions or assistants are required by the way of professional qualification to be acquainted with the Vedas and their accessory sciences. Shaddarisana. So here I would like to emphasize that the Vedas are very much insisted by the text also. The Kumara Swami very clearly giving the evidence from the Manasara. Veda with Sarva Sastra Vicharataha, it is mentioned there. It is almost Mayamata also having the similar verse. Samarangana Sutradhara also having the references. So the Veda is the main, the source for the construction of the temple. What are the basics of temple construction? The selection of site, system of measurement to be adopted, determine the direction, determine the temple characteristics and purpose, characteristics of base, pillar, roof and story, prime and parivara devatas. These are all the basic for the temple construction. Here, how we are going to construct the temple. In the left side, the Vishwakarman is go for the meditation. And go to the next level is a trance. We are all well aware of the Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyagara, Dharana. Samadhi, Vikalpa Samadhi and the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In English, we have simply the two words, meditation and trance. No? The Yama and the Niyama, both are giving a very vast restriction to a sculptor and a sthapati. For any person here, regarding we are focusing about the architect, so that the architect must have Yama and Niyama. Then only the asana, pranayama, pratyagara, dharana, samadhi and vikalpa samadhi and nirvikalpa samadhi. And the nirvikalpa samadhi also there are the four factors are affecting. So everything must be abolished. Here, the Vishwakarman go for the meditation and above the meditation he got the trance. The trance he realized the soul. So soul realization is the ultimate aim of any person going for the samadhi. So what happened? The soul realization, the knower, known and knowledge all are merged together. The soul realization is nothing but the visualization of the God. How he visualized? The Silpa Sastra giving lot of scope for the dhyana mantras. So from the mantras he has attained the samadhi. From the samadhi soul realization, he merged with his God, he visualized the God and taking the visual memory and then he come down from the samadhi level to the ordinary level and he constructed, he converted into the material form, that is the temple. It is a one-time process. The center, the figure is the Gangeganda Cholapuram. The Bragdishwara temple at Gangeganda Cholapuram. The Samadhi God, the visual memory and converted into the temple in one time about 1000 years ago. What happened next? In the right side bottom, the devotees are visiting the temple, visualize the God and go for the trance and then get the soul realization. It is another half. The first half by the Vishwakarman about 1000 years ago. In the right side, a devotee is still lakhs of devotees, crores of devotees visiting again and again for the 1,000 years, even it may go for the next thousands of years. The purpose is that each and every devotee must get the trance and the soul realization. Here the Tanjore Bragadishwara temple ground plan. The ground plan called as Tala Chantas. The elevation called Urduva Chantas. Chantas we know. This is just like that of poetry. Chantas is a combination of alphabets. Here, each and every temple constructed on the basis of square and circle. The square and the circle both are well defined in the Sulla Sutras and Kalpa Sutras. In Grahya Sutras also it is mentioned. In the Shilpa text, it is mentioned that the square and the circle are most important and sacred. If one circle is drawn, it is called as Sakala. In our home, we are performing puja, performing the homam. A small square is in metal or by brick. It is a principle, it must be in brick. So in which all the deities are invoked. That is called a Shakala. The same principle, a square temple site is considered as a square and it is called a Shakala. It is a divider into four, it is called a Pechaka. And then it is called Pida, Mahapida, Upapida. It is going on into 1024 squares. The highest level is 1024 small grids or the squares are combined together. That is called Indrakanta. Here the Tanjore Pragadishwara temple, one square, the left side first square. The first square, both the diagonal lines are drawn. The diagonal lines are intersect at the center. The center in which the linga is there, Lord Bragadishwara is there. The center is a circle center as well as it is the center of the square. So in which the temple was constructed. Again, adjacent to it, there is another square. The another square also, the diagonals are intersect. The center point in which Nandi Mandapam is there, Nandi is there. And there is another square in which the diagonals are intersect. At the center point, that is a entrance, that is a Gopura entrance. So we must be aware of it. There are squares are very important. By merging the square, it makes. So this is called Vinyasa or the Vastu Mandala. My people, nowadays people call it Vastu Purusha Mandala. But actually it is Pada Vinyasa only. So Vinyasa, we know that deities are there. We are invoking the deities. First go and visit. Visualize each and every deity in the square. So this is the ground plan in which squares are most important. The center of the square, always the center of the Vigraha, that is a Linga. And the subsequent squares, there are Nandi Mandapas, Vagana Mandapas, entrance, Gopuras, etc. So this is the basic principle. This is the center. There are three types, most important. One is the Sakala, the entire square, entire temple site. And 49 grids, Standila. Standila has a different meaning, sir. Standila means dividing. There is one meaning is a dividing, the another meaning. Here, Standila is a 49 grids together. Or one square is divided into 49, it's called a Standila. And another one is a Mantuka, that is 64. 8 columns and 8 rows makes Mantukya Pada. That is also used for temples. Another very great and most significant one, it was followed almost all the temple, is called Paramasai Pada. The Paramasai means 9 vertical lines and 9 horizontal lines. The temple side divided into the 81 grids, that is called Paramasai Pada, in which if the diagonals intersect the center point, the Garbhagraha. It is the most intricate point for the construction of the temple. This is Tiruchadursi Bragadishwara entire plan. So what is the significance of the grids? The significance is, if it is divided into the 81, or if it is divided into the 32 rows and 32 columns, and making 1024 grids, that is also Indragant. For here, it is a 9 into 9, that is 81 grids are there, Paramasai Pada, in which each and every Pada is interacting with that of the rest of the grids. The temple is constructed, the entire temple site is divided into the several grids. Several grids means there are the deities are residing there. So what it means, the deities are having the power. In center, that is the rest of the grids, all the devatas are there. Agni is there, Pushpadanda is there, Parjanya is there, Gubera is there, Aditi, Diti also, Yama also, Nairiti also, Nirti also, Pusha also. So all the deities are within the temple complex, and yes, Tapadi must go and visit, not gazing or looking, but I am always visiting the temple site. I am not looking it. I am not gazing it. I just go and pray. I look upon Drishti. I have to invoke the deities within the temple complex, the site. I am praying. I am consecrating each and every deity. Give me the strength. Please reveal what kind of power the site has. So everything is a prayer. After that, our ancestors is well planning the temple according to the distribution of the grids and making of the grids and performing the puja, and each and every deity having the Hritaya mantra and the Sastra mantra and the Kavacha mantra. Nowadays it is not at all possible. Previously our ancestors done it very perfectly. That is called Vas Puja. The Kavacha mantra, Sastra mantra, as well as the Kavacha mantra, the essential for each and everyone and Bali is also very different. So that is why in my family tradition, we are called it is a Padavinyasa and the performing of the puja. Thank you very much for hearing and giving the opportunity for the interaction.
Superb, excellent, Umapathy.
Yeah, thank you.
He had been watching the clock and he had cut it short. Disappointed. We have been
December.
following it very interestingly.
Ah.
Suddenly it has come to an end. Of course, it is
இல்ல
going to
இன்னொரு லெக்சர் நம்ம வச்சுப்போம் practical.
வச்சுப்போம் கண்டிப்பா வச்சுப்போம். Umapathy, really it had been very good. I have taken notes about 6 pages.
Very good.
Oh.
Thank you.
So
அவரே அவ்வளவு பக்கம் வச்சுக்கல.
நான் எழுதிட்டேன் பாரு. I'm a good student. Fantastic with the slides of the temples also, starting from Tiruchandur, talking about the temple construction on the seashore, up top of the hills, and then on the river shore, on the plains, how the site has been taken into consideration, how it had been built, how they chose it, how they knew these places are good enough and they will stand the test of time, weather conditions and wind power and everything. It was wonderful, really good. It was eye-opener for us actually. Many of the things were not known to us. For instance, up to Narthamalai, Tiruchandur, our own temples are well known to us. But Tadipatri, Pattadakal, all those things we are not very much known to us. It was very interesting. Also Ellora, the vertical cut mountains, and how they chose the mountains, how they did it, really wonder. Still, in spite of all these things, we feel inferior to the Westerners. That is our curse. Then Silpa Sastra, on the other side, you came to the Silpa Sastra theoretical side. And then how they have recorded and illustrated everything in the manuscripts was shown. Some samples have been shown. And then the 34 authors as given by Manasara. And Western India, Vishwakarma, I didn't get the name of the text, which has the 1,000 chapters, but now we got only 30 chapters. Qualification of the Stapati, personal qualification, that is more important for a person, not only for a Stapati. For everybody, Indian texts say, any Sastra says, all those personal qualifications are very, very necessary. That means you are to be a person of good quality, and you should earn respect from others. That was very, very important. And at that time, and in that context, you gave us information on inscription that talk about the Acharya, Sarasvati Acharya, about him in Pattadakal, and Kadambar Malai inscription talking about Akalanka Acharya and his father. Hoysala Brahma sculpture, that was beautiful sculpture. Very, very beautiful. We were all in the family, we were seeing it, turning the computer to everyone. We were seeing that Brahma sculpture, beautiful sculpture. And at the foot of the thing, he is Chaundoja and his father. They have been given recognition and their names have been etched. And Hoysala inscription about Bammoja and his father, very, very interesting. And then you came to the very, very important aspect of how the Shilpis should be aware of Vedas. And the knowledge of Vedas it is very, very necessary for the Shilpis. And the four suktas that you always learn from from that section also you gave us. What is it? Where did I leave it? What is it? No. Apri Sukta, Vastushpati Sukta, then Manu Sukta, and one more Sukta I said.
Vishwakarma Sukta.
Yes. All those things. And then you came to basic of temple construction, selection of site, system of measurement, direction, and all those things. And the other thing, Gangaikonda Cholapuram at the center with the Sapati on one side, concentrating, meditating, going into trance, realizing what he should do, and then transferring into a temple form, and then the devotees entering and going into the same trance and realizing the God. It was wonderful, really interesting, very, very interesting. And then you talked about Sthala Chandas and Urdhva Chandas, then Vastu Pada Vinyasa. That is where you have really left us seeking for some more knowledge from you. Vastu Pada Vinyasa, 1024 squares, and you showed us how each square has got the center point. And in the Brigadishwara, the first square had the linga at the center, Vimana representing it. And the second square center is Nandi. And the third square center forms the Gopura. And like that, you showed us the details. And about the grids, Paramasaipada, Sandila, Manduki, and Sakala. And again, For each deity, the mantras should be very specific: Hridaya mantra, Sastra mantra, and Kavacha mantra. It was really interesting, and you should really continue. I think I do hope that we will have one more or two more sessions. I don't know how much material you have to impart to us. So we'll definitely come back to you. Hello?
Yeah, namaste. Namaste.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. We'll ask you for another lecture, definitely. I hope everybody here enjoyed and imbibed the principles of Shastra, Silpa Shastra specifically, but all those qualifications for a Silpin, he goes for an artist, a singer, a dancer, and everybody, they have to have so much of concentration and so much of knowledge about even animals, he said. The animal, when the dancer represents an animal, he has to know how it moves, how it, the body language of the animal has to be represented. That was really interesting. Very, very, I'm indeed really thankful to you for this lecture. I was thinking of something different, but you had given us interesting, very, very interesting information and really wonderful. Thank you very much. What do you say, Balu? Are you there, Balu? KSB, are you there?
Yes, yes. I think all the qualities of the Shilpin that were expressed, Umapathy possesses all of them. Therefore, he is able to give us.
Every one of us should learn it. Yeah, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Dr. Umapathy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Take care of your health, Umapathy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he has done a wonderful, I think, we heard you 15 years ago.
Yes.
After that, you have developed the way of presenting also, and you have imparted so much of information to us. That means that you have been growing along with your Shastra. You have also grown with it, and you have got it inside you. That's very nice, very good. Thank you very much for sharing with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
We will wind up for the day, Lavanya.
And thanks to the endowment maker.
Yes, please continue.
We are indeed thankful to the family members of Professor Sundaram, because we daily think of Dr. Janaki and Dr. Sundaram. Definitely we miss both of them, and I think Dr. Sundaram would have been extremely happy today had he been listening to your talk, and we are thankful to all those who joined, and I think many more would be benefited by seeing your presentation in the YouTube, which will be uploaded shortly.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.